त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्.
The Vedas explain the three gunas, O Arjuna. Free yourself of the three gunas and the pairs of opposites. Establish yourself in sattva, purity, and become atmavan. Remain in the self. Free from acquisitiveness and possessiveness. What a fascinating verse this is. In India, the Vedas are supposed to be the highest repository of knowledge. And here is Krishna talking about the Vedas. Vyasa codified the Vedas. He's the author of the Gita. He says, the Vedas only talk about the gunas, Arjuna. Rise above the Vedas, rise above the gunas. Every one of us is born in the world only to get beyond the gunas. And what a tragedy. We are born, we have no clue about the gunas. We don't know what the best qualities in us are. We have no idea of the debilitating effect, the destructive quality of tamas and rajas. And we wallow in tamas and rajas. What a wonderful life wasted. This can be the autobiography of every one of us. One sentence. When you rise to sattva, purity, creativity, like Lord Byron, when he appeared for an exam, and all the students were given this, he said, write about Christ turning water into wine. And in that exam, Lord Byron was sitting there, looking at the ceiling, dreaming, looking around, not writing anything. And when the exam time was just about to get over, the invigilator, the supervisor, came to him and said, aren't you going to write anything? He said, just give me a minute. He scribbled one sentence and submitted the answer paper. When the results came, astonishingly, it was Lord Byron who won, who got the highest marks. And you know what he wrote? He had to write, you know the story, right? About Christ turning water into wine. And all that he wrote was, the element gazed at its master and blushed. What a magnificent word. That is what comes out of you when you are operating out of your sattva. Now, what is important for us to understand is that every one of us has sattva. You might have less, somebody else might have more, but you have it in you. And as you start operating out of it, as you start acting on it, the sattvic quality increases, the rajas and tamas goes down. And you become atmavan. So, gunatita, the state of gunatita, which transcends the three gunas, is the goal. Now let's come to brass tacks. How do you fight tamas? How do you deal with rajas? Let's take a brief look. You fight tamas by enforcing certain activities on yourself, a certain schedule, deadlines. So fix deadlines in such a way that they are achievable, but with effort. That's the key. If you make the deadlines such that they are effortlessly achievable, then you tend to slip into tamas. If you make them way beyond your capacity, you don't even begin. So they must be achievable. You must see it as achievable, but with a little bit of effort. You must embed a slot for daily exercise in your life. I meet people who are weight conscious now. Everybody has got this thing of, what is it called? Zero size in them. But they don't exercise. They starve themselves. That's no way to go about it. Exercise. No, and not just to look slim, to fight tamas. Forgetfulness is a very typical tamasic quality. So if you tend to forget things, write reminders. And these reminders should be put in places that you see. Otherwise, there are people who write reminders and never look at them. and remove the clutter from your life. You know, every one of us has so much of trash stuck in our minds, your activities. Most of us have no time. You call a person, you SMS a person, you send an email to a person, no reply. Why? They say, I was busy. The moment a person says he's busy, you know what it means? He's indisciplined and he has a lot of clutter. The busiest people in the world are those who have all the time because they remove the clutter from their life. Think about it. Next is refining rajas. How do you do that? Remove the egoistic notions of kartrutva bhavana and bhoktrutva bhavana. Kartrutva bhavana is I am the doer, bhoktrutva bhavana is I am the enjoyer. By constantly reminding yourself of the role played by some divine force in your life. Every day, remind yourself that I would not be able to do what I'm doing without the help of this divine force. I don't know what it is or who it is, but that it is there and that it's playing an important role in my life is a given fact. Shift your attention from deficiency motivation, from looking at one or two things that you don't have, to appreciating and being grateful for the millions of things that you have received in life, unasked for, unacknowledged, ungrateful. Understand the ills of selfishness, gain knowledge, and always think positively. And the sattvic quality is cultivated in you by contemplating. Give yourself time to think, for heaven's sake. We, the human species, is what it is. We've conquered all of nature, we've conquered other species, we are well on the way to destroying all other species because of this intellect, capacity to think. So think. Fix a spiritual goal. What is it that you have to achieve in your lifetime? You know, when things start going wrong in your life, that's when you begin to see things in a new light. But by then, usually it's too late. Like the other day, I met a 21-year-old boy who had met with an accident. He was in a coma for 3 months. And today, he's barely alive. His priorities have all changed. The priorities of his parents have changed. Where is the guarantee that this is not going to happen to any one of us? Why wait till that moment? Grab the moment today. Today, this moment has been given to you to evolve spiritually. What are you doing about it? Practice karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and most importantly, avoid dissipation of your energies. The amount of time and energy that you waste for no reason at all. Remember one thing, it is only merit that pays. Don't waste your time networking and partying and what is that, page 3 and this, that and the other. It will not help you. And you're wasting so much time and effort at all of this. In other words, what you need is knowledge. Acquaint yourself. Start with, there is a book called Profile of the Perfect Person outside. Why I'm recommending that is because it has a fairly long introduction to the Gita, and it contains just 19 verses of the Gita. The second chapter, last 19 verses, Sthita Prajna portion, which happened to be Mahatma Gandhi's favorite. He used to recite these 19 verses every day of his life. Now, the reason we're recommending this is because it instills good values. You need this daily exposure. Don't stop with that. We have almost all the other chapters available. Keep moving. You know, a leading newspaper came up with the slogan, Teach India. We want to refine it and make it Teach India Vedanta. So apart from learning yourself, whenever you get an opportunity to share it with others, please do so. That's the only way of spreading the knowledge. You need to give gifts, or at least you give gifts. When you need to give a gift, what do? You give flowers, you give chocolate, you give mithai, all of it is temporary. Instead, you spend much less and you give something more valuable. So, that is that. Now we come to the end, but before we part, because we've been exposed to so many ideas this evening, let's take a brief look at the take-home points. What are you going home with today? Number one, that you are a combination of spirit and matter. Spirit is constant, fixed. Matter is the variable factor. Matter consists of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. What they are, how they operate, and how they bind you is what we saw. And how to, most importantly, how to break free from these three gunas. This brings us to the end of this interaction.